There we go. All right. We made it. All right. Internet did not beat us this time. Hey, I'm Joey.
I'm Lori.
And we are on our second attempt at doing a live stream. We did one last night, me and Caden, on our other channel. And then we're going to tell you about that channel because we want you to follow that channel too. It's a fun channel. We have a good time. But yeah, last week we tried to go live, but the rain won. We don't have a great internet service, and I'm going to say anything about who it is or whatever runs that service, but we have the old fiber optics in the ground. We just have not connected to it yet. Maybe we need to.
Yeah.
So here we are live, and we hope that if you're watching this, that you will comment and
ask questions.
And if you're watching this later, comment, ask questions, like us, subscribe, because we're going to try to do this again. We have been doing about one video a week, and I do a lot of short videos, some off the other videos. But last week we talked about why you should get married. Married is a good thing, and we recommend that a man and woman get married, but for the right reasons. And we made a video last week about the right reasons to get married, the benefits of getting married, why you should get married. And next week, or last 2 weeks ago, we talked about communication in marriage. We had two-part series, how communication, a lack of communication could be harmful to a marriage, and how good communication, the right communication, can make a marriage successful. Then a few weeks ago, she talked about how to be a good Christian wife, biblical principles. I think you had 6. It was a good show. Yep. And then about a month ago, I talked about what is a Christ-like husband. And then a few episodes, like a month, 4 or 5 weeks ago, we talked about divorce. Tough subject.
Yeah.
And what does the Bible say? Can you get remarried? What are all the questions? And we try to talk about those. Here we go. You got any comments before we get started?
I don't think so.
So we're going to talk about why you should not get married. The wrong reasons people get married. And I thought, what are some of the worst examples of marriage in the Bible? And I found one.
He asked me last night, guess who I put down? And I guessed about 5 different marriages.
Yep.
He was like, yeah, that was a bad one, but nope, that's no who I picked. Yep, that was a bad one. Nope, that's no who I picked. Finally, he started giving me some clues, and I finally was like, oh, yeah, I know who it is.
Yep. And who did you say it was? Who did you guess?
You mean the right one? Or you mean give me some other guesses that weren't right?
The wrong ones.
I said David and Bathsheba. I said Abraham. No. Moses.
Nope.
Moses and his wife.
Yep.
He found out in the desert.
Yep.
What was the other one that I said? I think I said one more. I said Esther. And that's a great story. That's one of my favorite books. But
you married Xerxes.
It was a weird way for them to get together. Just because the way our culture is now. That's what they did back then. You have to understand our culture.
And I mean, Esther, that's Xerxes. She married Xerxes. I mean, come on now. He's the guy that battled the ancient Greeks. Big historical figure. I think the guy in the Bible that she married is Xerxes. I might be wrong, but Ahasuerus or Artaxerxes or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's the Xerxes, the legendary historical figure. But that's kind of crazy. But that actually turned out to be a good thing. The story of Esther was a good story. So that's not the one I'm thinking about. Nope. So here it goes. I'm going to read the one I'm thinking about. So here we go. It's in Judges chapter 14. I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. So who are we talking about in Judges chapter 14? I call him I call him the best big dummy of the Bible.
He's such a big dummy.
Yeah. But God used him.
God uses big dummies.
Yep. God uses big dummies. And this is going to be a fun episode. It's going to be serious, but it's going to be fun. Here we go. Then Samson. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Samson went down to Timnah and saw a woman of Timnah, one of the daughters of the Philistines. Big dummy move number 1.
Yep.
Not supposed to marry a Philistine. Not only was she a foreigner, she's from the nation as their number one enemy, the Philistines. You know, you hear about Saul fighting the Philistines, Jonathan fighting the Philistines, David fighting the Philistines over and over and over and over and over. But what does Samson do? He gets him a woman from the Philistines. Kind of tells you what he's looking for. You know, he's looking for a wild woman. So anyway, back to the story. So he came back up and told his father and mother, I saw a woman in Timnah, one of the daughters of the Philistines. So now, he's telling this to his mom and dad, take her for me as a wife. So he's like, Mom and Dad, I know who I want to marry. It's a Philistine woman. So go do it. Go get her. So, you know, back in that culture, the parents had to arrange the marriage. The boys and the girls didn't decide on their own. The parents arranged it. So Samson was like, I found who I wanted, Mom and Dad. So go down to the Philistines and talk to their parents and y'all arrange something. You know, that's what I want. And so the parents were like, but his father and mother said to him, is there no woman among the daughters of your relatives or among our people that you got to go take a wife from the uncircumcised Philistines? He's like, come on, Samson. Is there no good Israeli woman that catches your eye that we can go talk to the parents? And we would love to arrange a marriage with a good Israeli woman. Surely there's somebody from our own nation, our own culture. No. He said, no. And here Samson, a spoilt brat. No.
Temper tantrum ensues.
But Samson said to his father, take her for me. She is right in my eyes. Ooh, that's the number one bad example why you shouldn't get married. Because that's what I want. I want it. Do it, Mom and Daddy. Make her my wife. Okay, I'm going to put that down because that story makes me mad. You know, when you think of Samson, you think of Samson and Delilah. He was, you know, she was a Philistine too, wasn't she? I think she was a Philistine.
I can't remember.
Whatever, she was a harlot. But
she was no good.
The first woman he marries is a Philistine, and the enemy. Oh my goodness, what is he thinking? But so there you go. Reason number one, not to get married. The wrong reason to get married. Don't marry just because I want to. And don't marry somebody that is wrong for you. Somebody your parents don't approve of. If your parents say, son or daughter, I don't like that person, you might want to listen to them. So yeah,
that was number one.
Yep, I kind of covered the whole Samson thing. But hey, if you want to comment on what is another example in the Bible of a bad marriage, go ahead and put it in the comments if you can. So why should people not get married just because you feel getting married is the right thing to do? You know, I think I just need to get married. Why? I just need to get married. I just feel it's the right thing to do. I hear marriage is popular. That marriage ain't going to be very successful.
Yeah,
probably not. Getting married is going to fix all my problems. Getting married will cure my loneliness. You know, God did make a woman to be man's companion. God made Eve to be Adam's helpmate, right? But there's a misconception there. God didn't make Eve because Adam was lonely. Adam needed a helper. Adam probably didn't realize he was lonely. God made her, and Adam was like, oh, hey, now I'm complete. Adam probably didn't know what he was missing. So there's a misconception that a man or woman, you need to find a husband or wife so it'll cure your loneliness. You'll find out that it probably won't. What do you think?
Yep. One thing I learned when I went through my divorce care class was that you have to be content with just you and God before you try to pursue another relationship. And I think that goes for single people too, even unmarried, never been married before. you need to be content with your relationship with God first before, because you're seeking somebody to fill a need. That's the wrong way to go.
Because if you're lonely, then if you're with somebody else, then you're both gonna be lonely together. That's probably the case. Getting married is gonna cure my depression. Now, what's gonna happen is, if I was depressed and I married her to cure my depression, I'd probably make her just as depressed as me. That's probably what's gonna happen. We're both gonna be
Or
depressed
yours
and
would
miserable.
just get worse. One or the other.
Yeah. Well, you're not doing what I want to. You're not fulfilling my needs, so now I'm more depressed. Or getting married is gonna make me happy. I hear that marriage makes you happy.
Yeah, it's not always cupcakes and rainbows.
If you do it right, if you do it God's way, there is some happiness in marriage. There's also some struggle. There's some hardships, but you gotta work it out. The hardships and happiness, you gotta work them out. They go hand in hand. You gotta balance them out. Marriage will get me out of a bad home. I can name some people. We know people. Get me out of a bad home.
I mean, it might do that, but it might just put you right into another different bad situation. What they say, out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yep. And look, if you know a bad living situation, if that's what you know, if that's what you grew up in, and you want to jump to the first person you can find to get married, you're going to take your experiences and you might project that into your marriage. So you may unintentionally create a replica in your new marriage. Well, your marriage might be a replica of the family you got out of. Does that make sense? Yep. So next, another bad reason. My friends are getting married, and I'm not married. Like, half my friends are married. I need to get married.
Yep. I'm not getting any younger.
I need to find not getting any younger. Yep. I need to find the first person that I think might be good enough and just marry them. Just get it over. Just get married.
Yep.
Other
people are telling me I need to get married.
Yeah.
When you getting married?
Well, I just better find somebody to get married.
You're getting up there in age. When are you gonna get married? What are you waiting on?
And then you get married just cause you find somebody and then you realize, like, I don't love this person. This person's not right for me. Or you're gonna find a bunch of reasons why you shouldn't have got married. Can you make it work? Yes. Look, even if you get married for all the wrong reasons, you can make it work. But it's going to be hard. So what we're trying to do in this episode is to present a way for you to get married without getting married for the wrong reasons.
Some things to think about.
Yes.
Before you get married, and kind of ask yourself these questions. Am I getting married because I want to get out of a bad home life? Am I getting married because I'm lonely? Am I getting married just because I feel like I'm getting older and if I don't do it now, it's never going to happen? Am I ask yourself these things. Why am I getting married?
Now, if you're a young person, I don't know if there's any teenagers watching this or anybody in their 20s, and you think, I just need to have a boyfriend or I just need to have a girlfriend because it's going to make me feel better. It's going to make me look good because they got boyfriends and they got girlfriends, but I don't. So I need to have a boyfriend. I need to have a girlfriend. And I'm just going to find the first one that's attracted to me, first one that'll talk to me, and that's going to be my boyfriend. That's going to be my girlfriend. And you're going to get so attached to that person, and you're going to go about the relationship all wrong instead of thinking about it and getting to know somebody and deciding that, is somebody I need to have a relationship with? Yes, I believe that if you're like, say, a man, a boy, a young man, and you're in a relationship with a young woman, that relationship should lead to marriage. If you're 13, 14, 15 years old, you ain't going to be in a relationship that leads to marriage. So parents,
there's no point in being in them.
Yes.
I teach 6th grade, and I think these kids are like 11 and 12 years old, and
oh Lord,
my boyfriend this, and I'm going out with so and so this week. You're going on a date. Like, Are you getting in the car? Are you driving? Like, what's the point of you going on this date? So, you getting married anytime soon? No. Well, what's the point?
There's no point. So I'm going to get a little bit like I act in my other video, where I'm a little more upfront and in your face with my son and our video. Youth leaders, if you're a youth leader or you are a volunteer in a youth group and you got these teenage boys and girls sitting in your youth group dating, that's a problem. And you don't need to encourage that.
I mean, you can't really stop it,
Can't stop it.
but don't encourage it.
Hey, look, I'm so glad to see y'all two together holding hands and all hugged up and kissing. I like that. And what you should do is say, y'all getting married? And then see what they say. Because I'm going to get to that in a minute. But we dance that fine line of teenage dating and the do's and the don'ts. And I say, discourage it. Do not encourage teenagers to date. And a period. They're not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, and they get these dating relationship 4 or 5 years, and then they go to college and they start getting their brain starts developing, and they think, I don't know if that whole dating for 5 years. I mean, we shouldn't have done that. And then they get married and they go, what did we do? Okay, so we're going to talk about that whole teenage thing here in a minute. So next, I want to get married, so I have somebody to take care of me financially. Boy, I'm going to tell you, a lot of folks get married because they want to be taken care of financially. It's not just women. I guess if you had to say statistically, more women get married for financial stability, but now there's a lot of men that marry more financially stable women. But if you get married because you want somebody to pay your bills, it's the wrong reason. But it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to lead. It could. I mean, it could lead to a successful, happy, great marriage. But that's the wrong reason. The wrong reason.
Especially if you're a single mom, because I was a single mom for a little while, and you do have financial needs. Fortunately, the church where I was going, they help take care of those things, and so we never went without food or without having a bill paid or anything like that. But I could see, as a single mom with kids, it would be a temptation to just marry the first guy that came along, just
Right.
so you wouldn't be struggling. So don't do that.
And I was able to help her, and we combined our finances and we helped each other. But she did not marry me because I was rich. She did not.
We actually got set up on a blind date from people at our church. I don't know if you remember this, but we had one couple invite him to lunch and a different couple invited me to the same lunch. And we all ended up eating lunch together after church one day. And then we just, the rest is history, as they say. We just never quit talking.
But we didn't get married because
Yeah.
She wanted me to take care of her financially.
I didn't seek him out and go, oh, he's, I could get married to him and I'd be all right. I didn't chase him down for that reason.
Here's another reason. That's the wrong reason. I want that dream wedding, that nice storybook, Hollywood fantasy wedding. I want the dream life.
Yep.
I want the fantasy romance. You're going to spend
happily ever after
$5,000 and $10,000 on a wedding. You got too much stuff, and you spent too much money, and half the people you invited didn't show up, and then their marriage from that day on, it doesn't meet your expectations.
Yep.
It's not the storybook fantasy marriage you thought it was going to be. So have realistic expectations. A lot of people get married with unrealistic expectations. Maybe before you get married, get with a bunch of different people of different ages. Like, get with that couple that's been married 50 years and see how they've done it. Get with that couple that's been married 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe get with that couple that's been married 2 years. Get different perspectives.
Yep.
And learn what made them successful. And they're not very many. I'm going to say it's been a storybook fantasy wedding.
Yep.
It's been a storybook fantasy marriage. They're not going to say that. So have realistic expectations. Okay, now here we go. Some people get married because they can't control their sexual desires. They got desires. Got to get married so I can, fulfill my sexual desires. A lot of it's your lust and your unbridled passions. But here's the problem. Maybe 1,000 years ago, this wasn't a problem, but maybe even 200 years ago, this wasn't a problem. But we live in the entertainment age. And even since we've been alive, we're in our 50s. And TV, the radio, movies, the internet magazines, they spoon feed that sexuality to us.
Yeah.
Even when you're kids, in some of the teenage movies and animated movies, it's sexual overtones. Even when we was watching TV shows, when I was a kid, sexual overtones. So that stuff's been spoon feed to us. So we're desensitized to sexuality. So when we're teenagers, we're thinking, gotta have sex, gotta have sex, gotta have sex. You know, that's a topic nobody wants to talk about, but it's the truth. We base a lot of our marriages over the ability to have sex. And so one of the things that churches are having to do, and look, I'm not trying to knock this, but probably after I was probably from the 90s, I think we grew up past this whole purity culture.
Mm-hmm. But I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember it.
In the 90s, they started doing that whole purity culture. You got your purity rings and your purity bracelets, and you signed the pledge.
Called,
and I don't know what it was called. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was a name for the whole movement.
You make the purity pledge, you know, and I'm gonna abstain from sex until I'm married, and that becomes, you're going to be pure until you're married. Getting married is going to be my time to have sex. That's what you think. That's what it's become. Instead of what we should have done as churches, we should have said, let's talk about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, what does marriage mean? What does the Bible say about marriage? What is God's purpose for a man and a woman joining together in marriage? Sex is part of it, but it's not the only part.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was saying before, we should not take a blind eye to teenage relationships. We should not say, well, look at Johnny and Sally, 14 years old sitting in church holding hands. We're glad they're here. When you ignore that, you can't look. Like I was telling my wife last year, I was thinking, when I hold your hand, it does something to me. Just holding your hand. And imagine we're in our 50s and we've been married for 13 years, and holding her hand still does something for me. Imagine 13, 14, 15-year-old kids holding hands. It's igniting that passion. It's igniting that fire they should not have. And we're letting them do it. We're sitting there ignoring that. Oh, look at them hugged up, holding hands.
Mm-hmm.
They got their legs crossed up in the youth group, and we're just letting them do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to, they're probably not having sex. Well, they probably are. I mean, they might be. I don't know. They might not be. But what we tell them is, well, just stay pure. Don't have sex before married. I say don't date at all.
Yep.
Don't date if you're in the teenage years. Don't do it. A lot of people are going to do. If you disagree with that, just disagree. That's fine. Yep. You can disagree if you want to, but that's the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything to add to that?
No,
purity culture.
Just not just holding hands, but sometimes you'll see them.
Yeah.
Doing this.
Oh yeah.
And have their hands.
I just want to go. Stop.
Just slap it away. Stop.
I just want to interrupt the church service and go. Stop. Yeah.
We were at church camp one time, and we were in a small group doing our small group stuff, and there's a couple doing that, and it took everything I had not to run over there and go stop.
Yeah. Yep. Now, okay, Nan. And you know why some of the teenagers, this is going to lead up to my next point here.
Yeah.
You know why some teenagers do that? Because they see their parents setting ungodly examples.
Mm-hmm.
They see their parents who are divorced, or you got maybe parents that just didn't get married, or let's say you got a single mom or single dad, and their boyfriend, let's say the single mom, single mom, and they're at home with the kids. The boyfriend's over a lot.
Mm-hmm. Or different boyfriends are over.
Yeah. So somebody of the other sex is with that parent of the kids, and the kids is seeing that parent having a relationship with somebody they're not married to. And that's the example they get in their head.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those parents are sleeping around with these men or women they're not married to. And so that's the example the kids get.
Yep. So they think it's just normal.
They think it's just normal. And they think, well, one day they're going to get married and it's going to be okay. That doesn't make it right.
No.
Look, here's my next reason to not get married. We already been living together, so we might as well get married. Just because you have been living together in sin doesn't mean getting married makes it right. Getting married would be a step in the right direction, but here's the deal. Just like any other, living together is a sin if you're not married. If you're living together in a pretend marriage relationship where you're having relations together, physical relations, that's immoral. And if you want to get married, I would say first you need to say, okay, we need to quit this. This is wrong. We need to quit this.
Mm-hmm.
We need to repent of this and separate ourselves for a while. Let's see if we can go apart for a month or 2 months or whatever. See if we can sustain ourselves. If we can sustain ourselves, we'll repent of this sin that we've been living together. We'll sustain ourselves for a while, a few months or so, and then we'll talk about getting married. But what's going to happen is probably if you quit the whole sleeping together, don't stay around at each other's houses overnight, and you'll probably think, you know what? We don't need to get married anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We probably don't need to get married anyway. So, man, and I'm not going to name anybody. I'm not going to insinuate anybody, but there are people that are in churches. They go to church together and they sit by each other, boyfriends, adult that are dating together. They sit with each other, and they may be sleeping with each other. Who knows? Living together, just because you've been living together, is not a good reason to get married.
Mm-hmm.
It's a poor reason.
It'll give you a false sense of
Yes.
what you're really feeling.
Yep.
That's why you need to separate and be in a relationship that's not physical for a while.
That's
and
right.
See if you really are compatible with that person.
Yep.
Not just because you're having relations.
That's right. Let's see. And like the example with Samson in the Bible, don't marry somebody who's not a Christian. Not a Christian. So we hope that everybody listening to this video is a follower of Jesus Christ, is a Christian, believes in Jesus, has put their faith in Jesus. If you have not put your faith in Jesus, we encourage you to do so. Come to saving knowledge of Jesus. So those of you who are Christians, marry a Christian, marry a believer. And I'm not going to use the whole don't have religious differences, because oh my goodness, even the vice president, he says he's Catholic. I'm not going to question his faith. He's married to somebody that's probably a Hindu. She's from the nation of India. Pretty sure she's Hindu. No big deal. That's good. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to criticize me. I'm sorry. Look, I'm not trying to discourage the vice president. Or there's a lot of people in politics in general that marry other men or women for political gain. Don't do that. Because it's all Hollywood. These Hollywood weddings, they get married just for clout. Look, I got this person on my arm. Look at that. Don't do that. Get married to somebody that is a Christian. Forget the whole religious differences. The only religious, spiritual belief we think that matters is the belief in Jesus Christ. So marry somebody that believes like you do. It's like, say, if she was Pentecostal and I was Baptist, that would be a problem. One of us is going to have to, we can't go to two different churches.
Yep.
One of us is going to have to one of us is going to have to compromise.
I was raised Catholic. My dad was Catholic. My mom was Baptist. So even though they, and I guess in the world standards, they had the same faith, they really didn't, because they worship completely different ways.
Totally different theology. Totally different. Totally different.
Yep.
And I'm not disparaging Catholics too.
It's just, you're going to have that conflict.
Mm-hmm.
My mom never went to church with us, She just stayed home and read her Bible and did her own thing. So we would go to church, just dad and us kids, and that was, so that's not good either.
Right. Last one, and I'm gonna let her make some comments if she has any comments, and then I'm gonna talk about something else. But impulse. Don't get married out of impulse. Stay away from the bars. Oh my goodness, I would discourage you from the internet dating, online dating. Because the whole internet, email, or dating services, that stuff's dangerous. You don't truly know somebody from the internet. I mean, it works. If there's somebody that's listening to this that says, "Hey, we met on the internet and we've been married," it's great. Okay, good. But I don't encourage that. Don't get married out of impulse. Don't have one of those crazy, we met and then 2 weeks later we got married, and then you don't even know each other. Don't get married because, hey, I like this girl. This girl's great. We're getting married tomorrow. Just met her yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get married out of impulse.
That's probably, in all these examples, there's probably, somebody out there probably knows the example. Well, so and so did that, and they've been married 20 years, whatever.
Yeah.
There's, I'm sure there's one outlier in each example that's worked, but for the majority of marriages, these things are not reasons to get married, and most of the time they're not going to work.
All right.
I just want to say that.
Yeah, good. Do you have any other comments before we close it out?
Well, I want to go back up to, I had written a side note
good.
on mine about, you were talking about don't get married to control your sexual impulses, and about that whole movement about save yourself for marriage, save yourself for marriage, save yourself for marriage. And like you said, you never hear the church talking about, well, here's marriage. This is what marriage is and what it's supposed to be. And one thing that we have learned over the last almost year now of just trying to be more intentional about our marriage and making it better, making it more godly, is marriage is supposed to be a picture of the gospel and how Jesus loves us, and how our relationship is he follows Jesus, I follow him. It's, it's a, what would you call it? Symbiotic relationship?
Yep.
I don't know.
Ephesians chapter 5.
And so it's just, it's kind of one of those things you've heard it taught here and there, but you've never really had it explained. Your marriage should be a picture of the gospel to everybody else around you.
Right.
And that's just something that I was like, oh, wow, yeah. Never heard that taught before.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we hear that taught in churches? And so it's not just about, save yourself for marriage. Marriage is supposed to be a picture of the gospel. That's why, one of the reasons why you should save yourself for marriage.
So, like she said, if I'm in church and I'm leading a marriage group and I'm teaching people, men and women of young and old, especially the young, marriage is a picture of how Christ loved the church. You can think of the bride as the church, and Christ is the groom. Christ loves his bride enough to where he sacrificed his life for his bride. He serves his bride. As a husband, I should love her like Christ loved the church, and she should serve me like the church serves Christ. That's what churches need to talk about in marriage, and sadly, I rarely hear that.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about wives submitting and serving, that has such a negative connotation in today's society because it's not taught correctly, because people are selfish, and it's all about taking care of number one and what makes me happy. And so when you talk about submitting and serving your husband, we can't talk about that. That's terrible. That's if you really learn what it really is and what it's really about, it's not terrible.
So look, what we got. So we can't talk about that. So we say, don't get divorced, and teenagers don't have sex before marriage. That's it. Marriage 101, Christian churches. That's it.
Yeah. Good luck with the rest of it.
Now, I hate to say it, and I am kind of plugging our videos, but there's probably more Christian information about getting married in our videos than you'll see in any churches.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 or 5 great videos from Ephesians chapter 5 and principles in the Bible, 1 Peter, that talk about the biblical ways to be married. Christ loved the church. Like, I love my wife like Christ loved the church. Look, look our videos up. You can learn.
And the reason that's the whole reason we're doing these videos is because when we started this journey, and like I said, almost a year ago, a year ago in May, we were like, wow, why isn't this taught in church? Wow, why isn't this taught in church? We didn't know this. Why are we never hear about this? And so we thought, well, we can teach it. We can get it out there. I mean, so we're not perfect and we're still working on things, but we just feel like, well, if the church ain't going to talk about this, then we will. People need to know.
And we have a unique, well, not really unique, but we don't have, our marriage is not one of those traditional first-time marriages. We've been married before, divorced, and now we've been remarried. So we have the blended family, and we came into a marriage needing different advice than we got. And we've been reading books by Gary Chapman, Ron Deal. Ron Deal and Family Life Blended, talking about the men and women who came from other marriages, whether they lost their spouse through death or divorce, and they get remarried to somebody else, and they're bringing kids into the situation and other situations they're bringing in together. They need different types of counseling. They need different type of advice. They need to think about things differently. And maybe we're going to do a video about that. Maybe we'll do a video about preparing for marriage.
Blended family style.
Blended family style. That's what we're going to do.
We hadn't done a blended family one in a little while.
So we're going to talk about the pros and cons of getting married when you've been married before. What you need to think about, the negatives and the positives.
Yeah.
That's what we'll probably do next. We'll just have to think about it. Anything else before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. We've covered several things. So.
Yep. So, if you're watching this later, please comment. If you got any questions, we'll try to get back to you. If you have any comments, and we'll try to, get back to that. We want to know two things. What are some of the reasons why you think people should not get married? And another one is, besides Samson, name another bad example of marriage in the Bible. Now, we'd like to. That's kind of fun. So we have another channel with my son. It's called Keeping It Real for Christ. And I'll type it in here before we leave. And it is at Joy Rose 1245. I'm going to go ahead and type that in there. We do a lot of in-your-face videos where we talk about some controversial issues. Like one we talked about was gender confusion, and we talked about sex before marriage. And last night we talked about praying, and it's really fun. And Caden is going to sing songs in the video. So Keeping It Real for Christ, and I'm typing that in there now. At Joy Rose 1245, and that's our handle. So look us up. And we want you to subscribe to that channel too. That's my son and I. That's our channel. We do kind of fun Bible teaching, modern issues in a Christian's perspective. In our channel, the Christ Center Marriage and Family, we do marriage and a biblical perspective, and we do blended family. We do talk about other family-related stuff, but we want to specialize in blended families, because most people don't, other than Ron Deal and Family Life. God bless Ron Deal. He's our mentor.
Yep.
But nobody else wants to talk about blended families. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and God bless. Okay, good. All right. So the good thing about this is